Petra ma'am, I think we can start. We'll start the session.
Okay, sir. Over to Shahnaz.
Assalamu alaikum and a very pleasant good afternoon to one and all. I am Shabnaz, first year computer science engineering student, and today I have the pleasure of being your host for this program. As the saying goes, surround yourself with people who talk about visions and ideas, not people. With this vision, we all have gathered here virtually to listen from the great personality, Dr. Muhammad Ismail, on the myths and facts about COVID vaccination. Before we start, let us invoke the blessing of the Almighty. For this, I would like to invite Professor Zishan Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. No disaster strikes upon the earth or among yourselves except that is in a register before we bring it into being. Indeed, that for Allah is easy. In order that you do not despair over what has eluded you and not exult in pride over what He has given you, and Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful.
Thank you, sir, for invoking the Almighty's blessings on all of us. Welcoming is the noblest act of any function. By welcoming, we make the person feel at home amidst us. I request Nafisat Irfana to deliver a welcome address.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, one and all. I am Nafisat Irfana, first year engineering student. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. It gives me an immense pleasure to start this auspicious occasion by heartily welcoming everybody. I heartily welcome guest of honor, Mr. Abdullah Ibrahim, Executive Director, PIT. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I welcome our Honorable Principal, Dr. Ramesh MK, to this session. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I welcome our respected Vice Principal, Dr. Sharmila Kumar, to our program. Welcome you, ma'am. A warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Muhammad Ismail. Sir, we are grateful for acceptance of our college's invitation and for sharing your valuable time with us. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Along with this, I welcome all HODs, teaching and non-teaching faculty, special invitees, and my dear colleagues. Once again, I welcome all to our session. We would be delighted to have your suggestions and questions at the end of session. Enjoy all.
Thank you, Irfana. It is indeed a privilege to have a young and dynamic leader. I would like to invite our Executive Director, Mr. Abdullah Ibrahim, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. You're on.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Respected chief guest of today's function, Dr. Ismail, principals, HODs, faculty members, and students of PACE Group institutions, and the audience of this awaited program. Days have passed since mid March 2020, where we have experienced fear, discussion, grief, anxiety, and loss due to COVID-19 pandemic. The second waves of COVID-19 has come as a shock to the education sector, societal setup, health systems, economies, and governments worldwide. Families have had to make adjustments to their daily lives, and these are adjustments they have never imagined they should be doing. Amidst the fear of the third wave of this pandemic, let us go by the proverb, prevention is better than cure. There is nothing more apt right now. Let's try to fight this pandemic through vaccination. But as the vaccination programs continue to roll out globally, we are seeing a lot of myths about the vaccines increasing. Providing employees and stakeholders with facts is a key initiative that workplaces can undertake during such situations. And this is the prime motive behind today's program. Today's program on COVID-19 vaccination, myths and facts, provides us a platform to hear from a renowned expert, ask questions, and prepare ourselves to fight against the pandemic. I'm very thankful to Dr. Ismail, who is one amongst the most prominent physicians in Mangalore. He took out his time from his busy schedule and acknowledged our invitation to deliver this topic. I understand that his knowledge, experience, and exposure as a frontline warrior in the fight against COVID 19 will make today's session a fruitful one. My dear students, staff, and all others present today, let us be cautious and not panic. The world has seen pandemics before too, and we have prevailed. We talk about a new normal in the post pandemic period. As a result of the COVID 19 pandemic, we have had the opportunity to take a pause, a deep breath, and reflect upon what is really important in our lives. Every one of us have had the chance to do that during these lockdowns. The change to focus on appreciation, gratitude, support, and collaboration. Although this pandemic has taken many things away from us, it has also given us the opportunity to highlight what is truly important: our family, our friends, our health, our society. Let us have our own contribution on the positivity that this pandemic is going to leave with us and continue our journey to change the world. I believe the vaccination is going to be a cornerstone for all of us to face the world in the new normal. And I believe we can move forward strongly after this pandemic is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words, sir. We cannot control all that happens to us, but we have an absolute control over how we respond to the changes in our lives. Today, I'm connecting with you from my home, and maybe you're listening to me from your home during this time of pandemic. And yes, it is a difficult, challenging time for all of us. Today, we are all aware of COVID-19 vaccination being done, and we have lot of information coming at us. So much information so fast that it can make us feel confused and worried and scared sometimes. We also tend to believe in myths, be it good or bad, that doesn't matter. So, in order to make everything clear, we have an eminent personality with us, Dr. Muhammad Ismail Hejamati. Dr. Ismail is a professor and unit chief at the Department of Medicine in KMC Mangalore. He has done his FRCP from Edinburgh, MD in General Medicine from KMC, and MBBS from VNIMS Bellary. He has a rich experience of 30 years in various roles. Dr. Ismail is an accomplished teacher and has been an integral part of both undergraduate as well as postgraduate teaching programs. His lectures and discussions are often events which students flock to attend. Dr. Ismail is also working as the honorary medical officer at the Government Wenlock Hospital, Mangalore, where he provides medical care to the poor and needy on a charitable basis. His exposure in the treatment of COVID-19 patients has made him one of the authority in the guidance of COVID-19 related cases. Dr. Ismail has published a book, around 10 general publications, and presented 6 papers in various conferences in countries like UAE and USA. He has delivered invited lectures, chaired sessions, and represented KMC in various forums in India and countries like England, South Africa, Russia, Switzerland, UAE, and etc. Dr. Ismail is also an active and enthusiastic lifetime member of Indian Medical Association since 2005. Dr. Ismail is a recipient of Good Teacher Award 2015, Kasturba Medical College, Manipal University. Dr. Ismail's contribution to the society is well recognized with various honors like Letter of Honor for Commendable Achievements, Al Azhar English School, Hejamadi, Karnataka. He is also honored with the title The Gem of Medical Field by Mangalore Literature Club during Feb 2019. Today, he'll be enlightening us on the myths and facts about COVID-19 vaccination. So, my dear friends, let's listen to Dr. Ismail. Over to you, sir.
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah for everybody. Dear my friends, students, and Mr. Ramesh, principal, as well as Abdullah Ibrahim, the director. I am very pleased to be here to attend a seminar with all of you about a subject which is very, very important. Around 2 years ago, we never even thought that there will be circumstances in which we are going to be like this. We never ever thought there can be a pandemic of this sort in which every one of us will be indoors and scared to come out and meet with our friends and dear ones. Such an amount of problem that totally 17 crore people have suffered from COVID as of today, and around 37 lakhs of people have died of this COVID-19. COVID-19 is a disease, all of us know that not only we suffer, along with us, the whole family and the society and the whole nation as well as the world suffers. So it is our duty to see that this disease does not spread. It is not enough that we keep ourselves as very, very secure without even bothering about our neighbors, friends, or relatives. That is why this COVID-19 disease is such a disease. Every one of the citizens of the world has a responsibility to see that the disease does not spread. All of you know very well. In December 31st, 2019, China's Wuhan province gave a letter to World Health Organization about a lot of pneumonia about which they did not know much. And on January 17, 2020, they found out that it is a virus called as SARS-CoV virus. And this SARS-CoV virus gave rise to a disease in which a lot of people in that Wuhan area suffered, as well as the hospital, as well as the doctors treating the patients also had to go through a lot of difficulties as well as death. And then the World Health Organization gave it a name as COVID-19, Coronavirus Disease 2019. That is the name which all of us are now knowing it, and all of us are scared of it. It has developed into such a pandemic the world has rarely seen. Of course, we have had a 19, 20, and 22, we had a pandemic called a Spanish flu, in which about 50 to 100 million people had died. And of course, that disease went on for about 3 years, and every now and then, that so-called H1N1 flu keeps coming around 20 to 30 years as an epidemic. So we never thought that there is going to be a pandemic of this sort in our lifetime. And we are actually taken off guard when it came all over the world. So why are we so much worried about this disease is because this disease can spread so fast and it can give rise to infections with the symptoms and without the symptoms. And people without the symptom can spread the disease to others. And the people who got the infection, many of them may get into trouble, and a quite good number of people are going to die. The mortality rate of this disease is, for example, 2 to 7%. To begin with, it was 100 is now come to around 2%. Hopefully, the mortality is going to come down. Of course, this disease is not a mortality disease, like, for example, rabies, which is a viral so-called dog bite disease, where it is 100%, 100 people of rabies get the disease, 100% will die. But the mortality, the death rate is comparatively less. But disease is, it spreads like a wildfire. Throughout the world, it is spread in a matter of 1 to 2 months. Now, there is no country in the world which does not have a COVID disease, including Antarctica. In fact, in Antarctica, there was a ship which was docked quite many months before the COVID had come into this world. And recently, when they tested some of the people, they found that COVID-19 was there with them. So this is a disease in which every one of us have to take the responsibility to see that nobody suffers. And if nobody suffers, the world will prosper. Otherwise, we are all going to be doomed. So as our director said, that prevention is better than cure. That particular adage you cannot get in anywhere else more than what you get in COVID-19. This is a disease which can be prevented by many, many means. And one of the most important way to prevent this disease is by giving vaccine. This COVID vaccine is the one which has been developed so fast. No human being could imagine that we are going to have a vaccine like that. Ever since 225 years ago, Edward Jenner found out a vaccine for a smallpox. And then we had vaccine for so many other disorders. The fastest vaccine to develop is this COVID vaccine. Polio vaccine took almost 40 years to develop and come into the picture. This particular vaccine is developed within a span of 6 months. The reason is because of the increased technology and increased aid as well as the financial support to all the pharmaceutical companies which are making this COVID vaccine. All of us welcome the advance of this vaccine with a wholehearted way. But unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of myths around the vaccine, and through the social media, you will be finding out so many things coming in the way of the vaccination, and there are so many people saying so many things that you should not vaccinate at all. And quite recently, there was one of the social media news going around the whole world saying that one of the Nobel laureate, his name is Luke Montenero, he is the man who is supposed to have said that whoever gets vaccinated is going to die within 2 years. In fact, he never said that. Of course, he is not in favor of vaccinating everybody. He feels that there is going to be antibody-dependent enhancement. In other words, what that scientist feels is that if you vaccinate, the chances of the variant of the virus going to affect you is more. Never ever he has said that whoever takes vaccine are going to die within 2 years. So these and many, many other myths are there in the midst of us, which comes in the way of our vaccination program. Vaccination has to be done for everybody, and the only problem now about the vaccination is the availability. Once it is available, everybody has to take it. Now, There is one particular problem in the vaccination. The question keep being asked about is that whether it is going to give rise to infertility or whether it is going to give rise to fertility problem in women or in men if we take vaccine. This particular question has absolutely no scientific ground. In fact, COVID vaccination has got nothing to do with the fertility at all. We have seen many patients who are taking vaccination and becoming pregnant. The reason why this particular doubt crept into the society and the social media was some people thought that this protein which is present in the virus, which is called as a spike protein, the vaccination attacks this spike protein, and that is how it prevents the virus. And the people felt that there is a protein like the spike protein in the placenta of the women, and this antibody can affect the placenta of the women and give rise to fertility. In fact, these two proteins are entirely different and it has got absolutely no connection. The second question asked is, will the COVID vaccination itself will give rise to COVID? No, because the vaccination what we are giving is nothing but a spike protein oriented vaccine. It does not contain the full virus, it does not contain the live virus, and hence this COVID vaccination can never ever give rise to COVID in itself. And there are a lot of people who say that this vaccination has come so fast, so it may be not fully safe. So it may be that this vaccination brought in a hurry, and hence it has not been tested properly like how we used to test the other vaccines in the past. The reason is this particular mRNA vaccine, which is now there by the Pfizer and Moderna, this mRNA technology is present for the past 20 years. And all the other requirements to produce the vaccines were all there. The only thing which we required was the genome of the virus, and the Chinese government gave the genome of the virus way back in January 2020 to the whole scientific community, and the whole scientific community could make out what exactly this virus was and develop technology with the speed which was required for this kind of a pandemic. And this particular vaccine is tested the way any other vaccine in the past was also tested, and absolutely no stone was unturned and no corner was cut to bring out the vaccine. Its safety is not to be questioned at all. So this vaccine, whether it is a mRNA vaccine, whether it is other vaccinations, all the vaccination at the moment which is there in the supply in the whole of the world, all of them are absolutely safe. And after this COVID vaccination, whether it is going to give rise to problems, yes, you can get after the COVID vaccination, you can get fever, you can get body ache, you can get myalgia, and these kind of the world, the doctors and the healthcare workers in the front line, all of us have taken the vaccination for so many months, and God's grace, nothing has happened to any one of us so far. So we ourselves have volunteered to take the vaccine right from the beginning, and when nothing has happened to us, all of you can as well take the vaccine. Then there is the adverse effect are very few. And if that is there, it can always be taken care of. Of course, there are few vaccines. Some complaint is there regarding the thrombosis and the blood clotting mechanisms, which happens very, very, very rarely, and we really don't have a direct evidence to say the cause and the effect of the virus has given rise to this clot at all. Of course, whether it is going to give rise to the clotting mechanisms, we are going to look into, but it happens very, very, very rarely. and there is a treatment if there is a problem with the COVID vaccine. There are a lot of myths regarding the change in the DNA of the human being if you are giving the mRNA vaccine. mRNA is a messenger RNA vaccine, which is the latest vaccine in the world. So far, this kind of a vaccine has never been used and never been prepared. This mRNA vaccine is made by the Pfizer as well as Moderna. This mRNA is nothing but a messenger to the cell to produce an antibody against the spike of the virus. It never enters the nucleus of the cell. It does enter the cell. The mRNA will enter the cell and it will give a message to produce proteins to act against the spike virus, but it never enters the nucleus of any cell. And when this mRNA vaccine attacks the nucleus, it does not attack the nucleus of the cell. The question of it arise at all. That is most important one. Because we have to be prepared for all the vaccine which is going to come to India now. Of course, we don't have this mRNA vaccine now, but it is going to come to our country very, very soon. Now, we have other vaccines like Covaxin and Covishield. Both vaccines are made up of a protein from the virus, but not the live virus. Okay, and this is made by the so-called adenovirus. Actually, Covishield is made from the chimpanzee virus, and the other one is made from the adenovirus, not from the COVID virus itself. So these virus particles act like a spike protein and make the human body develop the antibody and an immunity which is called as cell-mediated immunity. So there is no question of we getting the COVID itself due to the virus, as I have already alluded to you in the past. And there are a lot of people who say that these virus vaccines are containing a lot of harmful substances, and hence it can give rise to a lot of problems to the human beings. In fact, none of this is true because it does not contain anything which was not contained in other vaccines in the past. So substances which is used for the vaccination are the same kind of substances which are used for measles, mumps, rubella, and all other vaccinations. It doesn't contain anything new. Recently, in the social media, you must have seen that they have said that the vaccine has given rise to magnetic, kind of response. In fact, this vaccine does not contain any of the metals, and the question of containing magnet or the magnetism doesn't arise at all. And who are the people who cannot take? A lot of people think that people with the disease should not take, people who are elderly should not take, people who are very, very young should not take. Those kind of things are now being questioned. Now, there is no contraindication for this vaccine at all. When I say contraindication, there is nothing that this particular person should not take the vaccine. The general rule is everybody should take vaccine. Now, why is it that over the age of 18 years, people are taking vaccine? Because this vaccination program, when it started, the trial occurred in the people of the age group above 18 to elderly. Below 18, this was not tried in the beginning of the vaccination. Of course, all over the world, children are now being given the vaccination, and we are also trying to find out what are the things are going to come out of that particular trial. In fact, about a week ago, from Mysore, also they have started giving vaccination to the children. Vaccination can also be given to the breastfeeding mothers. There is absolutely no problem. In fact, pregnant women are more risky to have this COVID disease. They get into more complications, and hence the pregnant women are also being given vaccine, not in our country. In other countries, for example, America and Europe, they are also injecting this vaccination into the pregnant women. Whether you have diabetes, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, or you have brain disease, you have muscle disease, you have any disease, you can take vaccine safely. The only problem is if you develop an allergy to that vaccine, only then you are not in a position to take the second dose. Okay. And most important thing is that people who are having allergy, for example, asthma or allergy to drugs or allergy to food, and so many kinds of allergies are there all over the place. These are the people who are not to be against the COVID vaccine. They also can take vaccine provided the doctors and the people around them take a precaution, in the sense if they develop any allergy, particularly the so-called anaphylaxis, which is a very, very, very serious allergy, immediately the doctors and the nurses and the medical professionals there should take an action and see that the allergy is completely rid of. So, in other words, problem also, you have to take vaccine. You have no problem also, you have to take vaccine. You didn't get COVID, you have to take vaccine. You already got the COVID, you have to take vaccine. Why should you take a vaccine if you have already had COVID? Because we are not sure how long the so-called immunity you have developed in this COVID disease is going to be with you, because this COVID disease, as you know very well, is just about 1 to 1.5 year old. So, whether this patient is going to have immunity for a long time, like for example, smallpox. You must have heard of a smallpox. The moment you get a smallpox, you are immune from getting it forever in your life. Or take an example of chickenpox. This immunity will last for many, many, many decades. May not be lifelong, but for many, many, many decades, you may not get a chickenpox at all. Whereas in COVID, we really do not know how long your immunity is going to be there, for 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years or so. And each man may have a different type of immunity. This particular immunity, what you develop, may not be enough. That is why we have to give you vaccine so that your immunity is boosted and you don't get COVID again. The reason why, as I've already told you, that we have to be so scared of this disease, that as doctors, I've been seeing COVID for almost more than a year now. We have been seeing so many patients, none of the doctors are sure which patient is going to be cured and which patient is going to die. And the present episode of this particular COVID disease, the so-called second wave, is attacking the youngsters more. This particular COVID virus, what we are is called as Delta virus. This Delta virus is the most infectious of all the COVID variants. In fact, it is much more than the Kent virus of London or the African virus or the Brazilian virus. What we are now going through is the so-called Delta virus. This Delta virus, its infectious rate is so high, and even the death rate is going to be more, as well as it is attacking everybody, people who are having a normal, healthy way, or the people who are healthy, or people who are non-healthy. It is going to catch everybody. Even healthy people have died because of this virus. And this particular disease not only affects your health, it affects your wealth as well. If not for the government support, many, many people would have suffered their wealth like anything. If you are paying, then it is in lakhs. The drugs are costly. The ventilator is requiring a lot of money to be spent. And once you are admitted, nobody is sure how long you are going to be in the hospital. We have had patients who have been in the hospital for more than 2 to 3 months. So, the most important thing is to prevent this particular disease, and this disease can be prevented and can be eradicated from the globe, provided every one of us take a precaution. Number one is wearing a mask. In fact, now I am not wearing a mask because nobody is there in my room. But if any one of the other man is present in your room or near vicinity, whether it's your friend or a foe or a classmate or a teacher or a relative, everybody you must think as having COVID virus and you must wear the mask. Mask is the most important primary prevention, and without the mask we should not get out of any place, because this COVID virus not only transmits itself through the droplet. You know what is a droplet? The moment you cough or sneeze, the drops of that will contain the virus, and after certain meters it will fall down. It is not only spreading that way, it also is spreading through the airborne. That means even if the patient is, say, for example, 10 meters away, you are more prone to get this virus, because the virus enters your body through the nose and the mouth and goes into the air pipe and goes into the lung. And not only it goes to the lung, it can also go to each and every part of the human body. It can attach itself into the liver, the kidney, the heart, the brain, and so on. It can give us to multi-organ dysfunction and failure. So you have to protect yourself and you have to protect everybody else. And if you protect, as the Quran says, that if you make one fellow's life come up, it is as good as the whole humanity's come up. If you allow somebody to die because of you, then it is as good as keeping the whole. That is what I'm trying to tell you, is that we are once and forever. That can be collective work and collective cooperation. Individual person of this world, every individual citizen. And now, all of you, that is a global village. One disease from here will go to another part of the world. So soon, we will have a difficulty if this is not in the whole of this world. Because as long as there is a vaccine or this virus is there in any part of the world, even the most remote part of the world, we are always going to be having a problem with its spread. So, vaccination is a must, and vaccination should be for everybody. In fact, the motto is to make the vaccination 100%. And only when we make the vaccination motto as 100%, whether it is achievable or not, it's a different matter. But only then, when everybody gets the so-called immunity, you call that as a herd immunity. Immunity in a herd. This immunity in the whole of the population is going to give rise to the eradication of this virus. The virus naturally, it's a nature of the virus, keep on changing its position, color, shape, and that we call in medical field as antigenic shift and antigenic drift. This is the nature of the virus. There is nothing big thing in finding out the virus has changed its shape or size or its quality or quantity and so on and so forth. Because if it is a virus, it has to change. Every living organism in this world, including human beings and animal beings, would like to survive. Same is the case with the virus, the bacteria, the fungus, and so on. Nobody wants to die. So is the case with the virus. So when you are coming out with so many things, virus also tries to change. But this vaccination, immaterial of whether the virus is going to change its shape and size, or it is going to become a newer and newer variant, the vaccination is going to give you a good protection. One thing all of us should know, that the moment you give a vaccination, it does not mean that you are going to be 100% protected. It is like wearing a seat belt in a car. You have to wear a seat belt, and you must have a car with a balloon so that when there is an accident, it takes place. But in the same way, let's say you meet with an accident, you might come out of it without any problem. So suppose let's say you have been vaccinated properly and fully vaccinated. That means 2 vaccines you have taken properly on time. then the chances of you getting the viral infection, COVID, is rare. And even if you get the disease, the chances of you getting admitted in the hospital is very, very rare. And then, even if you get admitted in the hospital, you are going to be in the ICC and the ventilators and so on and so forth is almost zero. In other words, vaccination will protect you from getting the disease, though it may not protect you from getting a virus. Just because you get a virus, it does not mean that you should get the disease. That is why in COVID, there are symptomatic and asymptomatic persons who may have the virus, may not have the disease. So that is the most important thing about the COVID vaccination. So after the COVID vaccination, should you wear a mask or no? That is the question everybody is asking. People are asking the social media. If you are going to vaccinate, then you have to keep a social distance, then you have to wear the mask, and then you have to keep on washing your hand. What is the fun in giving the vaccine? The reason is very, very simple. When we all get vaccinated, let us say the whole of India get vaccinated, definitely we can remove everything. We can remove the mask, we can need not have a social distancing, we can have for a marriage thousands of people, unlike now only 50 people. So the reason is, the moment you vaccinate yourself, the other man is not vaccinated. Because the other man is not vaccinated, you may get the virus, you may not get the disease, but you may infect another person. That is why till the majority of the people in India or in the world get vaccinated, this social distancing and face masking will continue to be there. Usually whenever there is a pandemic, these pandemics usually will be there for about 3 to 4, 5 years. After that only the virus becomes very much, loses its potency and it may not give rise to problems later on. So the whole thing in a way is that we have to be prepared for at least 2 to 3 years to be with whatever we are doing and to be careful even after the unlocking of the lockdown is over. Just because we are going out of the lockdown, it does not mean that we can be free like before, free like what we were 3 years before. All of us will have to take precautions on that. So now the COVID vaccination is available in government and also in the private facilities. Henceforth, more and more vaccinations are going to come. We are going to get a Russian Sputnik vaccine by 15th of this month. We also are going to get other vaccines from other places. And when more and more vaccines are available, it will be available in the private facility as well as the government facility. And the central government has told that the government is going to give free vaccination whoever wants. And even if anybody wants a private vaccine, they can also go for a private vaccination. So the most important takeaway for today's discussion shall be vaccinate each and every person immaterial of what he has got. Whether he has money or is no money, he requires to be vaccinated. Nothing short of a vaccination as far as the COVID disease is concerned. And hence, I would like to end this talk here. And if you have any questions on COVID or COVID vaccination, you are most welcome to ask questions and get our practical experience of what will happen with our patients. We are ready to tell. And number one. Number two, the most important thing I forgot to tell you is regarding this mucormycosis, the so-called black fungus. This black fungus is more common with the so-called Delta virus. During the last wave, we never had a mucormycosis at all. Now, we are having a good number of mucormycosis called black fungus, and this is a very, 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 very serious disease. It gives rise to morbidity. Morbidity means it gives rise to problems to the person, as well as it gives rise to mortality, that is death. And it is very, very expensive to treat this patient. So not to get mucormycosis black fungus, is important not to get this disease, and not to get this disease is important that we vaccinate each and every person. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for giving valuable insight on the topic and sharing your knowledge about COVID and the importance of vaccination. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of misinformation surrounding the vaccines and their development. But today, your talk was so accurate that we can now distinguish the myth about COVID-19 vaccination from its fact. And I'm sure my friends are now very much aware of the precautions to be taken during the pandemic. Thank you. Now it's time for questions. Friends and dear teachers, if you have any doubts or queries regarding the topic being discussed today, please put it on the chat box.
Shabnaz, they can ask also. They can unmute and ask.
You can unmute your mic and speak.
One question has been asked. I think one message has come. What is the black fungus? I suppose the question is like that. Black fungus. Okay. What is mucormycosis? In fact, I already told you what is the cause of black fungus and how a person gets it. Now, there are a lot of reasons why a black fungus is come, actually. Okay. Now, this black fungus or mucormycosis is not a new disease. It's not a new disease. We have been seeing black fungus. In our experience, we have seen quite a good number of black fungus, mucormycosis. It's called as mucormycosis, and I would like to call it as mucormycosis than the black fungus, which is a misnomer, not a very good name at all in the first place. Okay, so this mucormycosis is not a new. It has been there years. It has been there for more than 5,000, 6,000, or 10,000 years. And recently, you must have seen in the Mars, that rover which has been sent there has taken some photo, and some of them were looking like fungus, right? These fungus are there everywhere, and the mucorfungus is also there. Now, the mucormycosis will come when a patient's immunity is in trouble. Okay, what is the reason for this immunity? The immunity may be because of the comorbid condition like diabetes and other diseases. And in fact, the most important thing you should all know is that this COVID disease, particularly this Delta virus, is giving rise to change in our immune system, and it falls prey into this mucormycosis. The moment the immunity is reduced, the mucormycosis enters and then it spreads. So it is not just because of the so-called steroid. A lot of people are talking about steroid. We have been using steroids well before this COVID came, and the steroid has been there in the market for years and years. So steroid alone is not the reason for mucormycosis. I sincerely feel, and a lot of articles are coming now, the original article, saying that this Delta virus itself is one of the reasons to decrease the immunity like anything and invite mucormycosis into the body.
Sir, there are a few questions in the chat box.
Is there any issue taking vaccine while we are COVID positive? Yes, it's a good question actually. When you are already having a COVID virus in your body or you are having the disease in your body. See, when I'm telling these two things are different. You may be having no disease, but you may have COVID virus. For example, your relatives or your mother, father has got COVID. You are tested because you are a first contact, primary contact. So you are tested, you become positive. Just because COVID virus is there does not mean that you have got a COVID disease. In fact, that's why we call it as asymptomatic and mild symptomatic and mild severe and all sorts of things. And the treatment also depends. Just because you are having a COVID virus, we don't give any treatment for you. We'll just keep observing you. Whatever it is, the moment you have a COVID virus in your body, you need not to take the vaccine. Rather, you should not take the vaccine that time. In fact, it should be 3 months after the virus has been taken from you or you had the disease. So you also should take the vaccine 3 months after the virus has entered your body. Because once you have a virus, you are going to have an immunity. So even if you take after 3 months, 6 months, doesn't matter. Your immunity may go on for a year. So you can take any time after 3 months. But let us say you are one of the students, you have to go abroad. Now, the vaccine is very, very important. Without a completed vaccine passport, you are not going to be allowed anywhere in the world. Okay, let's say you're a student, you want to go for higher studies to America. They want you to have a vaccine. In that case, there is nothing wrong. in taking vaccine even earlier. There is no problem at all. Sir, one more question. As the days passing, the virus is becoming more and more powerful. So the present vaccine may not be so effective. What would you like to say about this? In fact, I have already alluded to in my discussion regarding this, immaterial what the virus does. But we will do one thing, that we will take vaccine. Every vaccine, whichever color it is, it doesn't matter. It has an effect on the spike protein. The whole virus is because of the spike protein. The problem because the virus is because of its spike protein. And every vaccine will have one or the other kind of an effect on the spike protein, and hence definitely there will be a good effect and you will not have a serious consequences. And as I already told you, virus has to keep changing. It is nothing new. Every virus will keep changing. So it doesn't matter. So because we have been having H1N1, influenza, that people are taking every year that vaccine because it comes only for a year. So that's it. It has been seen that who else used to take the vaccine of COVID, especially second dose, the place where it is given, that area is get attracted by the magnet. Why is it happen? So I already discussed even before your question came. Okay, Tawheed Bug Siraj, he's asked the question about this. Yes, sir. I have already discussed. Yeah, I have already discussed about that. There is absolutely no metal. Most important thing, that first question is what yours? I forgot your first question, man.
The time gap between the doses. Okay. Earlier it was 45 days now. Yeah.
No. You are not correct on that. Earlier it was 28 days. You understood my point? In fact, we all took 28 days vaccine. We took COVID 28th day. Now, after going on finding out these immunity things, they found that you delay the vaccine, the immunity development is better. The so-called cell-mediated immunity is far better if you postpone the vaccination for a later time. So in other words, more later you take, more better it is for the vaccine to develop a good immunity. So this is all because of the scientific study done. Because see, after all, COVID is a very, very brand new in the market. It was never there before. So we are learning new things, and you can take the vaccination 28 days later, more and more later will be more better. Number one. Number two, that only one vaccine is the vaccine which they are going to change. You got my point. For example, now Russian vaccine is called Sputnik. That Sputnik vaccine we are taking 2 doses. But now the Russians are going to come with the so-called Sputnik Light. That will be taken only 1 dose. You understood my point? They are going to change a little bit in the chemistry, in the change of the chemistry of the vaccine, which will make them come for a long time, and that is how they are going to give only 1 vaccine. It is not that the present Covishield is going to be used for only once. The present Covishield is 2. The present Covishield will be changed. It will be tweaked to become such a vaccine that only 1 vaccine is enough. For example, that Johnson & Johnson vaccine is only 1. You don't have to take 2. And Russian Sputnik Light is going to come. That also going to be 1. In fact, even other people are also going to come in the way, so that in future, you will have only 1 dose vaccine. But as of now, whatever the vaccine available in our market is to be taken 2 times.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Shiny biotechnology. Is arsenic album a homeopathic medicine effective? Can it be a substitute for a vaccine? This is one of the most difficult questions for me to answer, because I am an allopath. I am not a homeopath. And without knowing what it is, I will not be in a position to answer. But as of now, I don't think it is correct on my part. It is correct on my part to say that it is good or bad. But arsenic is arsenic. It has got its own harm and adverse effect on the body. So it's better not to take it. Yes. Afra Abdul Aziz, sir, can this virus spread through non-living object? That is called fomites, from the surface, from the shirt, from the wall, from the door knobs. like that. In fact, this is what was usually thought, initially was thought also. But the most important way in which it spreads is through the droplets and the airborne. Now, what happens is the surface contains the virus. You touch the surface and same hand you start using on your nose or on your eyes, the virus will be transferred through the nose and into the eyes, into the airways. So that can happen actually. But 99% of the way, the modus of operation of the virus is through the droplets and the airborne. And we do not want to take even the smallest of the chances. We would also be very careful on the surface transmission also. But the latest study says it is not that important. Like, for example, a lot of countries, a lot of cities used to go and disinfect the whole road, whole building. And in fact, I remember a lot of lorries were disinfected in Talpadi. They had one booth where that lorry will enter and they were disinfecting. All those are not actually required. The most important, let us say you touch. Yes, what happens if you take once? Nothing happens. In fact, we have taken vaccine before 3 months, one vaccine. After 28 days, we have taken another vaccine. And after 3 months, it's better to give. But if you take earlier, as I already happened, don't worry. People are saying that tablet should not go for vaccine. A very nice question from province. Actually, no, it is not correct. See, what injection we are giving is an intramuscular, is in the muscle. And the people who are taking the blood thinner are usually the ecosprin tablets called antiplatelet tablets, particularly for ischemic heart disease and stroke patients are taking these. Nothing happens, nothing will happen. But there are some other blood thinners called as anti-clot blood drugs, anti-clot drugs. Those drugs, when you are taking, if you inject, you may have a little bit of bleeding in that area. Nothing else happens. If you put a lot of pressure after immediately injecting into this place, and it will stop as well. It is not necessary that we should stop any drug before we give vaccine. And Sanad Fazal, is it okay to donate blood after getting the COVID-19 vaccine? No, not for about 28 days. Only after 28 days you can give. But recently the guideline has changed, but it is better not give for about 3 weeks. Nothing will happen, but the blood bank will not take your blood because a donor is supposed to be a healthy person. We have had COVID now. For another few months, you are not that healthy. That is why it is not taken from you. And Muhammad Zakir, can a person with above 60 years age and if the diabetes can take, in fact, he should be the first person to take, because if a diabetic person gets the vaccine, gets the disease, he will be in the biggest of the trouble, so he must take. And Yashaswini, can you enlighten us regarding plasma donation by people recovered from COVID-19? Yes, this plasma donation, we have given enough and more number of patients in Mangalore. In the last, the episode, as well as the present episode also, we were giving plasma. And then, after so many patients, we are given plasma. And the All India Institute of Medical Science did a very big study. And the latest ICMR guideline, Indian Council of Medical Research guideline, is that it does not help and we need not give. So we have now stopped giving plasma for any patient with the COVID. Virus can be infected to our eyes. Also, then why we are all not covering our eyes? Virus can be infected through our eyes, no doubt. That's what I exactly told. You touch a surface which contains a virus and put your fingers into your eyes, naturally you may get. But that chances are very less. It does not go like the nose and the face. In the face and the nose, it will come through the air or the droplet. Into the eyes, it will come only through your fingers, except when we doctors, when we go to the ICC, there are a lot of aerosol generated because of the ventilator, because of nebulizer, because of so many things. So many, that aerosols are developed that can come into our eyes. So whenever we go to the ward, particularly COVID ICU, we go with the full kit, the PPE, personal protection equipment, which covers from the top to bottom everything. So that is only for us, the healthcare workers. For the general public, not necessary to cover their eyes at all. You have to keep on washing your hands. That's the only thing.
Sir, Bill Gates has predicted that the world will be completely back to normal by the end of 2002, overcoming COVID-19 pandemic.
2022, you mean, not 2002. 2022, isn't it? Correct. You're right. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. No, it's not just Bill Gates. Everybody feels that the COVID virus has to disappear. See, a virus cannot remain in this world forever. Virus, by its nature, the so-called fitrat, it will always have to go, or it has to become so weak that it won't give us any problem. It will be with us. This virus will be with us, but it doesn't give us the same kind of problem. So whenever there is a virus outbreak, for example, I told you, in 1918 to 1921, during the First World War, there was one of the biggest virus called a Spanish flu. It affected 100 million people died because of that, the whole world. It also went after 3 years. They didn't have any of the vaccine like what we had. They did not have all those gadgets and social media and so on. Even then, the virus just disappeared. Of course, it keeps coming like a seasonal flu. The virus is still there, but it is not giving rise to problem like how it started. So it is the starting problem of this virus that it becomes very furious and very fast. And after that, it starts dying down. So I told you, another 2-3 years, it will always be there. But what happens if you allow it to spread like this? Majority of the people will die. So that is why we are making a vaccine. We are not going against the virus. We are going against its effect on our body so that it doesn't enter our body. That's all. We are not doing anything to the virus. Virus will be there. Person who has undergone surgery, can he take vaccine? Sumangala Rao. Very much. Person who has undergone a surgery, once the healing process has taken place, the patient can and should take the vaccine. Now, the whole question is, everybody should take a vaccine until there is a absolute contraindication, which is told by your doctor, not your friend in the social media. It has to be taken. Everybody has to take. In fact, when I took a vaccine, a lot of people told me, my own relatives told me that don't take, wait for some time. And after everybody's result, what happened, then you take. And I told them that if I don't take, I have no right to ask my friends or my patients to take the vaccine. So let me take and let's see what happens, because we all know we have been taking so many vaccines. And for information, the so-called that H1N1 vaccine, the Spanish flu vaccine, I have been taking with my family. All of us are taking for the past 15 years. Every year, we are taking that H1N1 vaccine. So it's not going to give us any problems. See, we have been taking vaccine so many years. Nobody asked a question. When it came to COVID, everybody started problem. So this is the things we are having. So not taking vaccine is going to have problem for all of us. So make everybody feel that they have to take a vaccine, whether they are 18 or even below. We are going to give vaccine. Even pregnant ladies, we might start vaccinating them very soon after the ICMR gives permission. Side effects are witnessed in some people after taking the vaccine. Sheikh Aftab Dawood. Yes, the side effects are very, 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 very mild. Some people may get little myalgia, that means muscle pain, headache, fever, and those kind of things. And it's not a very, very serious matter at all. So I don't think you have to worry about side effect. For that matter, everything is in this world has got a side effect. If you eat too much, you get sleep. That also a side effect of eating too much. Okay. So whether this side effect has got a severe adverse effect, that is what is to be noticed. Does virus spread from dead body? If not, then why so much of protection taken during the burial and cremation? Why dead body is not shown to family members? Now, regarding the this virus will spread from one person to another person through the droplets are airborne. I have already discussed with you. The moment a person is dead, naturally, he stops breathing. So from that person's lung or the airway, the virus cannot spread to anybody. But then his body will be in the surface, his body surface may be containing a virus, and that virus may contact your hand, and that hand you may put the things on your face, and that possibility is definitely there. You may get infected. By going near the dead body, you will not get the virus at all. But why are we taking so much of a precaution? The reason is very simple. Prevention is better than cure in COVID, because we don't have 100% curative treatment at all. The so-called remdesivir is not 100% effective. Any drug for that matter in COVID is not 100% effective. So we don't want anybody to get even the remotest chances of getting the virus. We don't want that to happen, because it is not one man's disease. Everybody's disease. One man gets, he infects the whole of the area, the so-called super spreaders. That is why take precaution, handle the body. You wear a PPE kit, handle the body, no problem. You wear all protective glove and then go near the patient or the dead body, there is no problem. But you cannot be like what you are doing before. You go hug the dead body and all those things is not possible at all. Till we are all vaccinated. Let's say you're all vaccinated, then there is no problem at all. Which vaccine is good, Covishield or Covaxin? Muhammad Munawar, yes. Both of them are good, both of them are effective. The latest study now says, today's, for that, I think you must have read in Hindu paper today, in the daily Hindu paper it's given there, Covaxin is supposed to be better for the present Delta virus than the Covishield. But in the long term, both of them are equally good and there is no problem. Covishield is the vaccine which the international governments are accepting. The World Health Organization has not accepted Covaxin so far to travel abroad. So this problem is there. So maybe after a few months later, even Covaxin will be accepted by the World Health Organization. So it doesn't matter whichever vaccine you get, use that first. Don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow you may get COVID and day after tomorrow you will be in the ICC under some doctors. Okay. Iftikhar, we are using vaccines, but when we will finally have a medicine that actually cures this disease? Now, this is the only time this is the only disease where we found a vaccine first and antiviral later. It never happened like that before. So, because of the technology, we found out the vaccine very first. The medicine for the virus is going to come. Whatever medicine we are having now is not foolproof. And hence, the vaccine, the drug will take some little time because it requires manufacture and so on and so forth. So it will come. Even the antivirals are going to come. It's only since 1.5 years since we have the disease. Another 1 or 2 years later, we will definitely get the disease, God willing. Whether a time gap to maintain to take vaccine if a person was affected from COVID. Yes, as I already told you, Professor Shamna, that COVID disease is there. You can take the vaccine after 3 months. But if we have some emergencies, you can always take earlier also, there is no problem. But it is because once you have got a COVID disease, you have an immunity, you are safe from getting another COVID for at least another year. So you can take any time after 3 months. Professor Ramesh?
Yes, sir. Yes. Shall I ask one question, sir?
Yeah, you can ask any.
Yeah. Sir, actually, you told this is the vaccine which is developed in a shorter span of time. So
Correct.
previously also we had developed vaccines. But basically the doubt which are arising among the people is because those who are taking vaccine are getting the disease. So previously also for any other disease, this happened in the history that you take a vaccine and you get the disease. So has it happened like that before? There is a disease, you get vaccinated?
Yeah. There is nothing. There is no 100% vaccination immunity for any vaccine so far. Whether it is measles, mumps, rubella, what we give to the children after giving vaccination, also they got it. Polio vaccine we are given. By God's grace, it has become very much low, and in India we have already eradicated. But in some countries, even after getting, you can get. And tetanus injections, we are giving the same tetanus. People have got the tetanus even after that. For that matter, there is no 100% guarantee for any immunity from a vaccination. So you can still get, we have got so many other diseases also like that. So, but then the disease itself will not be very severe. Any vaccinated individual, even if he gets the disease or the virus or the bacteria, he will not have that severe problem at all, because his body mechanism are such that the antibody and the cells are waiting for the virus or the bacteria to come in and finish them off.
Sir, one more question, sir. Having COVID and developing antibodies, having vaccine and developing antibodies, which is better as per the studies?
Yes, as for this, yeah, very good question. Actually, one of the best question I got today is having a vaccine and getting an immunity is far, far superior than having the disease and getting a vaccine. The reason is, once you get a disease, you don't know what is going to happen to your body, what are the organs developed already in trouble, and you don't know. Maybe another future days you will know about that. Whereas this vaccine contains only a spike virus particle, not the whole virus. And it develops such an intense immunity, both the so-called cell-mediated immunity and antibody-mediated immunity, that it is too good. And that is why the man who has got a disease, he gets a vaccine. It is double pleasure for him. Okay, so that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, shall I ask one question?
Yes, please, Abdul Majid.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether it is a stupid question or not.
Doesn't matter.
After vaccination, whether we can test whether it is functioning in our body.
In fact, this is one of the most beautiful questions, man. It's not a stupid question at all. In fact, how do you know this vaccine is working or not? That's a question everybody should ask. How do you know? Do you really have something to go by? For the general public, no. If you are vaccinated, tomorrow you do the IgG test, find out whether this COVID IgG is positive. That is not there at all. But some people have developed IgG, majority of people have not developed. In fact, the latest CDC guideline, CDC means, Center for Disease and Communicable Disease of America, one of the most important body, and the man who is running it is Anthony Fauci. He is the biggest infectious disease specialist in the world. Now, according to CDC, number one, you need not check for antibody after the vaccination, number one. Number two, even if you tested the IgG, whatever it is, it does not mean that you are going to get the disease. Number three, most important. What you are testing is only the so-called antibody test. The cellular immunity part, you are not testing in general public. But recently, one of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences has done the study on doctors, taking into consideration both the cell-mediated immunity and antibody immunity, and they found that every one of them has developed, your vaccine is working or not working.
Sir, whether we can take further questions?
Any questions? Okay.
One more question.
Can a blood type, okay, 1 second. Can a blood type affect how susceptible you are? In fact, there are a lot of studies which say that this particular group is more affected, other group is like, but it's not a very, very reliable study at all. And just because blood group A, let's say, is going to be more prone to get COVID, and blood group B is not going to get, that give rise to a false sense of security. And it is not absolutely scientifically correct also. It is only an observational study. When the COVID people came to us, we checked their blood group. Some of the people with the A group did get more, some of the people with the B group did not get more. So those kind of things, it is not going to test the, stand the test of trial in science. So it is an observational, one particular, just an observation, nothing else. So it doesn't matter now, whichever group you are, it doesn't matter.
Any other questions?
I think we can go ahead, no? For
Yes.
the next.
Shabnaz, we can go ahead. Continue.
Very well. I think it was a joyous discussion. So we are at the end of that session as well. Next, we are going to listen to the man who doesn't need any introduction and known among all of us for his wisdom and knowledge. Our Honorable Principal, Dr. Ramiz MK. Sir, I humbly request you to speak a few words. Over to you, sir.
Respected chief guest of today's function and speaker, Dr. Ismail, sir, Executive Director Abdullah Ibrahim, HODs, faculty members, and my dear students. In fact, I know Ismail, sir, for a quite long time, being a patient of my own self and my family members, and I regularly visit his clinic for one reason or the other. So I usually admire him as a doctor, how he deals with the patient. You go with a disease, talk to him. When you come out, you feel a lot of relaxation. He is in a very severe condition, but the way he deals with the patient is admirable. Feel a lot of lightweight in the heart once you come out. But usually what I used to listen one more Smile, sir, from the students of KMC, that is for his classes, his people flock him. Really, why the students attend in large number. I was listening to your talk throughout, the way you presented.
Thank you very much, Professor Ramesh sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And addressed all the points, and the discussion, how it has gone after the talk also shows the interest of the youngsters. And I think many of us had a lot of doubts about it, and sir, with authenticity, with data, has presented and cleared our doubts. Now let's move ahead to fight this virus, and let's, in a shorter span of time, let's hope for a world which is totally eradicated from this deadly virus. Let's make ourselves prepared to face the new normal, and let us be the ambassadors to face the new normals to the whole society. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you is a word when it is said with whole heart and soul, radiates peace, love, and harmony all around us. Here I call Disha to express her words of gratitude.
A warm good evening to all. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of PA College of Engineering and PA Educational Trust, I heartily thank our chief guest, Dr. Muhammad Ismail H, who spared his time from his busiest schedule. We are thankful to you for giving a knowledge of COVID-19 vaccination, myths, and facts. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I would also like to thank Honorable Mr. Abdullah Ibrahim, Executive Director, PA Educational Trust, for his gracious presence in this auspicious occasion. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to our respected principal, Dr. Ramiz MK, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I thank our beloved Vice Principal, Dr. Sharmila Kumari, for providing encouragement and support. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
I also extend thanks to the HODs, teaching and non-teaching staff members for their inflecting support and coordination. Finally, I thank the students who have turned up in such a great number for showing their interest and involvement in this program. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you to you as well, Disha. We have come to the end of our program, so let's wind up.